In Effigy, graded areas represent the physical area surrounding a piece of equipment for which fire and gas protection is desired. Entering in graded areas in Effigy is a two-part process. First, you need to define the graded areas themselves. And then second, you'll need to define the extent of a graded area for a specific piece of equipment. So I've opened up the sample training facility, which has 4 items. So if I go to the FGS layout page, in this facility we have 4 pieces of physical equipment that we're going to want to set graded areas for. And at this stage in the analysis, we haven't set any graded areas. The first step in the process is actually defining the graded areas. And that definition is going to occur on the overview page. In the overview page, you'll see that there is a tab for grading definitions. So we'll select the grading definitions tab and then select the number of grades that we intend to use. It's very common to use 2 or 3 graded areas. I'll just go ahead and select 3 graded areas. And the defaults are based on typical customer representations for graded areas, but the codes representing the areas, A, B, or C, can be changed. The coverage targets for each graded area can be changed, and then the inclusion distances, or the distance away from a piece of equipment that is graded, can be modified. So we have some typical numbers that we've put in here for 5 feet as the primary inclusion distance, and then for the grades A and B, the higher level grades, we have a secondary. So if a piece of equipment is graded grade A, for instance, the extent of that graded area will be 5 feet away from the piece of equipment, will be grade A, and then a secondary inclusion distance of an additional of 10 feet total is going to be graded the next grade down, or in this case it would be grade B. So we're just going to go ahead and leave the default grading settings in and update, and that will set the grading definitions for this facility. Now the next step then is to actually select the graded areas, or define the graded areas for each obstruction that we want to be graded. Not all obstructions are going to be graded, only the obstructions that are leak sources in addition to being obstructions. So if I click on the obstructions tab, I get a list of all of the obstructions that I've entered for this study. In this case, there are 4 obstructions, and I'm going to want to define graded areas for each of these obstructions because they are also leak sources. So in order to do so, I will right click on the graded area, and it will bring down a menu where I can either add or export the graded areas. I want to add a graded area, and that will bring up a graded area detail page. So in this case, I'm looking for a compressor. I'll start with the compressor, whose name is C104. The type of grading will either be a rectangle or a circle. So since the compressor is defined in a rectangular or as a cuboid, I'll select rectangle, and I want to define what type of grade is that piece of equipment. So let's say I've gone through my risk analysis and determined that it's a grade A. I can also put a description of the compressor. It's the export compressor C104. Then I will define the XY coordinates of that piece of equipment. So in this case, the XY coordinates are 36.125 and 38.25. The coordinate system is going to be similar as entering in for the obstruction. So we're entering in the center point of the cuboid, and then we put in the dimensions. So how large is it? So 5.25 and 1.5. and the angle of rotation is 0. After entering in that information, we will insert, and that inserted the device, and you can see C104 now shows up under the list of graded areas that I can expand or contract. And then clicking on that will bring that item back up in edit mode. Once I've done that, I can then go to the grading page and actually see the grading that was defined for that area. So you'll see that the object is this rectangle here, or this cuboid here, and then for an inclusion distance of 5 around that piece of equipment, I've got grade A, and then out to a distance of 10, I have a grade B. So that's the method for including graded areas in version 3 of Effigy. In version 4, we have made the graded areas more tightly associated with the obstructions themselves. But at present for version 3, the methodology for including the graded areas is what I've just presented to you here.